You are born into a story, not into a family, not into a country, into a story. And unfortunately, it's not a flattering one. The first thing you learn is that nobody remembers your real name. You had one, probably, but history didn't like it. It wasn't dramatic enough. It didn't echo properly in candlelit taverns. So they replaced it with something heavier, sharper, something that sounds good when whispered. You are no longer a person. You are a cautionary tale. Because when you're born into a myth, you don't get childhood memories. You get footnotes. And footnotes don't care about your feelings. No clear identity, because you didn't get one. Here's the worst part. You don't get character development. You don't get motives. You don't get nuance. You get escalation. Every time someone retells your story, it grows. You stole bread once, now you robbed caravans. You lived in isolation, now you're a monster. You were poor, now you're evil. It's like a game of telephone, except every round someone adds more fire. And you can't interrupt. You try, but myths don't allow rebuttals. Now, occasionally, a historian shows up. You can tell it's a historian because they use words like apophorol, and oral tradition, and primary sources. For a moment, hope. Maybe they'll fix it. Maybe they'll say, well, actually, this legend is likely exaggerated. But here's the problem. Even historians can't resist a good story. So instead of erasing you, they frame you. Legend says, and boom, you're back. You don't die in myths, you linger. The real horror isn't what the story says you did. It's that you're stuck performing it forever. You are replayed in cheap paperback collections, podcast episodes recorded at 2 a.m, dramatic YouTube narrations with thunder sound effects. Yeah, that one too. Every time somebody clicks upload, you respawn, and each version is worse than the last. You'd think people would get bored. They don't. Because myths serve a purpose. You're not there to be accurate. You're there to make people feel safer, superior, warned and entertained. You exist so parents can say, don't wander off. You exist so villagers can say, at least we're not like them. You exist so strangers centuries later can say, can you imagine? Yes, you can imagine. You're living it. Here's what really sucks. You don't even get royalties. Imagine being misrepresented for 400 years and not even receiving a single penny. Not one. At minimum, you deserve a licensing fee. But no, you get infamy. And maybe a poorly designed souvenir mug. Myths adapt. In the 1600s, you were a warning about poverty. In the 1800s, you were a warning about outsiders. In the 1900s, you were a horror story. And in the 2000s, you're content. Content. You've become algorithm friendly. That may be the most disturbing part. Because once you become content, you're immortal. Let's pause. Imagine you're trying to explain yourself. You step out of the parchment, out of the whispered tavern, you say, well, that's not what happened. But nobody hears you. Because you don't exist outside narration. You only exist when someone tells your story. And they control the script. Real lives are messy. Myths are tidy. You had hunger, fear, weather, illness, boredom. Myths erase all that. Instead they give you atmosphere, thunder, gravitas. You don't get a cold, you get symbolism. You don't make mistakes, you embody evil. That's a rough career path. Here's the new twist. In the age of the internet, your myth splinters. You now have Reddit threads debating you, TikTok edits romanticising you, conspiracy forums claiming you were framed, AI art recreating your face, badly. You've been fan cast. You've been rewritten as misunderstood. You've been turned into aesthetic. You didn't ask for this. Somewhere out there, someone's probably made you into a Halloween costume. That's rock bottom for a legend. The worst part, you start to forget what was real. Because if a story is told long enough, it overwrites memory, even yours. After centuries of repetition, you begin to think, maybe I was what they said. And that's the true curse of myth. Not distortion, internalisation. You weren't born evil. You weren't born legendary. You were born human. But humans are fragile. Stories are not. And stories always win. Real people die once. Myths die slowly. They fade. Then someone digs them up, dusts them off, adds dramatic music, and you're alive again. You don't get an ending. You get reruns. Forever. So why does it suck to be born into a myth that got out of control? Because you lose your name, you lose your context, you lose your voice, you lose your death, and in exchange, you gain immortality. But not the good kind. The kind where strangers argue about you online. The kind where your worst interpretation becomes the most popular one. And the kind where you're reduced to a lesson, or a meme, or a thumbnail. Somewhere, right now, a story is being told about someone. It's being exaggerated, distorted, sharpened, polished. Maybe one day it'll be about you. And when that happens, I hope they at least spell your name correctly.